Hi, welcome to Starz Recap. Today, I am going to explain an American romantic comedy movie titled The Parent Trap, which was released in the year 1998. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with children arriving at Camp Walden for an 8-week-long all-girls summer camp. The girls seem overjoyed to be camping next to Moose Lake. Hallie Parker is an 11-year-old girl from Northern California. Hallie's father, Nick Parker, owns a huge vineyard. Hallie quickly befriends two girls at the camp. Meanwhile, Annie is an 11-year-old girl from London. Annie's mother, Elizabeth James, is a famous wedding gown designer. Annie's family butler, Martin, drops her at the camp. They share an intricate handshake before parting ways. Although Hallie and Annie have contrasting characters, they both look identical. Annie is prim and proper, while Hallie is more carefree. At the camp, the two girls go head-to-head in a fencing match, unaware of their uncanny identicalness. Both the girls are extremely gifted at fencing and give each other a good competition. In the end, Annie triumphs and inadvertently pushes Hallie into the water with her last move. Annie quickly apologizes and offers her hand to Hallie. However, Hallie takes her hand and pulls Annie into the water with her. When the two girls take their fencing masks off, they are awestruck to learn that they look identical. Hallie quickly snaps out of it and insults Annie. The two girls have a go-mouth off and almost get physical when the camp counselor breaks them up. Later, the two little girls again butt heads over a game of poker. Hallie proposes a punishment that whoever loses the game will have to jump in the Moose Lake naked. Annie confidently accepts the challenge, but Hallie beats her with a royal flush. Annie is then forced to jump in the lake, after which Hallie and her friends steal Annie's clothes and run away. When Annie learns that Hallie tricked her, she vows to take revenge. The comical hostility between the two girls leads to a prank war that ends when the camp counselors fall into one of Hallie's traps and isolate the twins from the other girls. The two girls are told to pack their bags and sent to live together in the isolation cabin as punishment. The two girls continue to clash with each other. However, they soon become close after Annie helps Hallie close the jammed window. They tell each other about their homes and families. Annie hasn't had a dad in her life since her dad and mother got divorced when she was little, while Hallie doesn't have a mother and she lives with her dad. After learning that the two also share the same birthday, Annie starts suspecting that all of this can't be mere coincidences. Annie and Hallie then show each other the only pictures of their father and mother they have respectively. It turns out each has half of a torn wedding photograph of their parents. They realize Annie and Hallie are actual twin sisters. They are elated by the discovery. They tape their parents' half-torn picture back together and spend hours together, learning about their mother and father. As the end of the summer camp approaches, they long to know more about their parents, so Hallie then proposes an idea. She suggests they switch places and go back home as one another. Annie tells her that they will immediately get caught, but Hallie insists that they will be able to pull it off as they both look identical and they can learn how to imitate each other. Moreover, even if they get caught sooner or later, their parents will have to meet face to face because of it. The two girls then spend their remaining time at the camp learning and practicing each other's mannerisms. They learn about each other's house's blueprint. Hallie learns Annie's intricate handshake, while Annie cuts hair and gets her ears pierced with a hot needle. The summer camp comes to an end and the twins put their plan into action. Hallie goes back to London as Annie. She perfectly impersonates Annie, effortlessly imitating Annie's handshake and mannerisms so much, so that Annie's butler Martin is not able to tell the difference. Meanwhile, Hallie is elated to meet her mother and maternal grandfather, Charles, for the first time. She hugs them tightly, which surprises Elizabeth. She tags along with Elizabeth to her work to spend more time with her. At an opportune time, Hallie broaches the topic of her father Nick. She asks Elizabeth if she remembers him and how they met. Elizabeth is surprised by the sudden curiosity but tells Hallie about Nick. She says that Nick was a lovely guy and they met aboard the Queen Elizabeth II, QE2, an ocean liner that sails from London to New York. They were traveling on a ship because both Nick and Elizabeth weren't keen on flying. They were seated next to each other for dinner on the first night of their voyage. Meanwhile, Annie pretends to be Hallie and goes to California. She's overjoyed to meet her father. The little girl can't believe that she's talking to her father. She even keeps calling him Dad in every other sentence due to excitement. Annie is greeted at home by Hallie's lovely nanny Chessie and dog Sammy. Chessie isn't able to tell the difference between Annie and Hallie, but Sammy seems to have caught up to Annie's charade and keeps barking at her. Annie's excitement soon subsides when she comes to know about Nick's new young fiancée, Meredith Blake. Nick and Meredith seem very into each other. However, Chessie speculates that Meredith is only after Nick's money. Annie herself grows to dislike Meredith after getting a feel of her selfish ways. The next day, Nick finally asks Annie how she would feel if Meredith becomes a part of their family. Feigning her ignorance, Annie responds that she would love it. She adds that she always wanted a big sister and now Nick is about to adopt Meredith. Burn. But Nick quickly corrects her and reveals that he is actually going to marry Meredith. Left with no choice and forced to acknowledge, Annie responds negatively and screams in French, a language Hallie doesn't know. Nick is surprised by her behavior, but Meredith assures him that it is normal and expected of a child whose father is getting remarried. Meredith then goes to talk to Annie. She pretends to empathize with Annie, but Annie sees through Meredith's charade and cuts her short. Annie acknowledges that Meredith is young, beautiful, sexy, and perhaps that's what attracts her dad. After all, he's only human, but she adds marriage should be more than just sex. Seeing her charm offensive strategy terribly fail on Annie, Meredith drops her pretense. She candidly tells Annie that Nick and her are getting married in 2 weeks whether Annie likes it or not. And she needs to get over it. Distressed by Meredith's deviousness, Annie telephones Hallie. Annie tells her twin sister about their father's impending wedding. Annie persuades her to bring Elizabeth to California to break up the engagement. However, Charles catches Hallie on the phone. Charles forces her to come clean to her mother immediately. Hallie is scared, but she tells Elizabeth everything. She apologizes to Elizabeth for deceiving her, but instead of scolding the little girl, Elizabeth gets emotional and embraces her daughter. Meanwhile, in California, Chessie too figures out that it's Annie and not Hallie there. Soon, everyone finds out about it except for Nick and Meredith, who remain unaware of the switch. Hallie convinces Elizabeth to fly to California to meet Nick and fix their relationship, but she keeps Elizabeth in the dark about Nick's engagement and tells her that Nick is eager to meet her. Even after all these years, Elizabeth still seems to be in love with Nick. Nervous about meeting him, Elizabeth asks Martin to accompany Hallie and her as a friend. To bring Nick and Elizabeth together, Hallie, Annie, Chessie, Martin, and Charles conspired to have them meet at a hotel in San Francisco. Nick is scheduled to meet Meredith's parents at the same hotel. Elizabeth runs into Nick, booed up with Meredith, at the hotel elevator. She gets suspicious and confronts her twin daughters. The two girls come clean and reveal that Nick is engaged and getting married in 2 weeks. Annie tells her mom that she can't let it happen, but Elizabeth, hurt, responds that Nick and her have nothing in common anymore. She then continues by saying that Nick seems to be happy with his fiancée. Putting her foot down, Elizabeth adds that she will do what she came to do and will fly back to London with Annie. However, Nick is elated to have run into Elizabeth after so many years. He looks for her throughout the hotel. When he finally notices her, he accidentally falls in the pool in excitement. Just as Nick breaks the ice between Elizabeth and him, Annie and Hallie arrive. They come clean about the switch. Although a bit taken aback by the revelation, Nick gets overjoyed and emotional to see his other daughter after 11 years. Meredith too soon catches up with the development to her dismay. Later that evening, the two girls give their parents a surprise. It is a candlelit dinner, served by Chessie and Martin, on a yacht decorated to recreate their first meeting aboard the Queen Elizabeth II. Nick and Elizabeth reminisce about their past time spent together, both good and bad. It is revealed that Elizabeth left Nick after they had a huge argument. They were then both young, stupid, and had bad tempers. They said hurtful things to each other. Elizabeth expresses slight sadness over Nick not following her after she left. Nick responds that he was not sure if Elizabeth wanted him to. They finally make plans for the girls to spend holidays together but decide against resuming their relationship. Dismayed but determined, Hallie and Annie vow not to leave each other. The two girls hatch a plan. The next day, they wear similar dresses to confuse their parents and refuse to reveal which twin is which as Elizabeth gets ready to leave for London. The twin girls put forth a condition where the four of them would have to go on a camping trip. Only after which they will reveal their identity. Initially reluctant, Nick and Elizabeth finally agreed to take them on the camping trip. As expected, Meredith isn't happy with the trip and insists on tagging along. Despite Nick being hesitant, Elizabeth invites Meredith to the camping with Nick and the girls, while she stays behind at the Parker residence. The four then take off and start hiking. Meredith isn't used to the altitude and soon gets tired. The girls take advantage of that and play various tricks on Meredith. When she stops to take a rest, they put heavy stones in her backpack and scare her with a lizard. Meredith has a hard time carrying her bags and the two girls offer to help her. Meredith rudely declines and says that she sees through the two girls' angelic faces. She threatens to make their lives miserable after she gets married to their dad if they play one more trick on her, but the girls continue to prank her. At night, Meredith, who is tired of hiking and dealing with the two sisters, plants a long kiss on Nick before taking a sleeping pill and going to bed early. Later, after Nick goes to sleep, Annie and Hallie drag in asleep Meredith with her inflatable airbed into the lake. Meredith wakes up the next morning in the middle of the lake by a bird. She freaks out and falls into the water. Meredith finally loses her patience and angrily gives Nick an ultimatum to choose between her or his daughters. Nick finally realizes Meredith's bad attitude and gets to know that his daughters won't be fine with her. Hence, he chooses the girls over Meredith without thinking much and breaks off the engagement. Although Annie and Hallie are both punished for their shenanigans, they accept it, as they got rid of Meredith for good. Elizabeth apologizes to Nick for inviting Meredith on the trip and breaking their engagement. Nick jokingly responds that he knows that Elizabeth deliberately tricked Meredith into going camping with Hallie and Annie. Later that night, after putting the girls to bed, Nick shows Elizabeth his wine collection. It includes a 1983 wine that they drank at their wedding. Elizabeth gets emotional but tries to put on a strong face. Nick tells her that she doesn't always have to be brave. They get drawn to almost kiss, but Elizabeth holds back. She is almost in tears by the encounter but decides to ignore it. A hesitant Nick then puts the wine back. Later, the four of them are saying their emotional goodbyes as they hug each other. Elizabeth then returns to London with Annie as the rain pours down. Annie is dejected after being separated from her sister and father again. However, when Annie and Elizabeth get home, they find Hallie and Nick waiting for them. Nick and Hallie flew to London on the Concorde, which cuts travel time by half compared to general passenger planes. They explain that they had realized they didn't want to lose Annie and Elizabeth again. Nick tells Elizabeth that he made the mistake of not coming after her once, and he is not going to make that mistake again. Elizabeth is fearful of remarrying, but she yields to Nick's unwavering confidence, and Hallie and Annie look on happily as their parents embrace. The ending shows Nick and Elizabeth getting remarried aboard the QE2, with the girls as bridesmaids. This is my explanation for the movie, The Parent Trap. So what do you guys think about the movie? Write in the comment. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.